What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another classical reaction, and we're going to begin going through arguably the most famous piece of classical music in the Western canon, certainly one of them, and for many people, in a catalog full of masterpieces. This is Ludwig van Beethoven's all-time masterpiece, his Ninth Symphony, the Choral Symphony, Opus 125, I believe, produced, composed between 1822 and 1824. I think it was maybe not the absolute first, but at least among notable internationally recognized composers. It was the first time vocal parts had been included in a symphony, and indeed the fourth movement, which contains the Ode to Joy, is, I think, perhaps the crowning achievement for many people of the symphony overall. I do think the first movement is fantastic. So again, my copy, I have several different releases, both vinyl and CD with Beethoven symphonies, but I've chosen to go back to the vinyl again. And we're going to listen to the 9 Symphony compilation from Deutsche Grammaphone. This is back in 1977, so almost a 50-year ago recording of this piece. It's performed by the Vienna or Wien Philharmonic, conducted by Karl Bohm. So the first movement is referred to as, can barely read it, Allegro, ma non troppo, un poco maestoso. I apologize. So, yes, the first movement of Beethoven's epically famous Ninth Symphony, often referred to as the Choral Symphony, and it is performed by the Vienna Philharmonic and conducted by Karl Bohm. Not quite sure where the levels will be. already a lot of timpani and a lot of sweeping strings. The scope, the scale is already very big. The layers in this section. Like overlapping each other. His use of different parts of the orchestra to create that ambient, what's the right word? The substance, the background for the higher or more foreground melodies to operate on top of is fantastic. The emotional palette is very complicated, nuanced. There's energy and power, but also a bit of mystery, a bit of worry. And his ability to bring the composition down to the more intimate after going big in scale is always impressive. The way he can vacillate the scale. synthesis of everything, right? The strings with the brass and the timpani, the woodwinds lending some subtlety to it. Back and forth, alternating between intensity and subtlety. T went down the wrong, went down my esophagus, or my trachea. I'll just die real quick. What do you even say other than try not to kill yourself with tea? It's just an incredible opening, the power of it, the scale. It doesn't necessarily sound doom heavy, but there's definitely some intensity and worry and intrigue and mystery in some of the softer, more subtle moments. As I said, I love the way it alternates between that scale and intimacy. Which part of the orchestra do you talk about? Obviously, again, the timpani playing a major role here. Shout out to those who know Notame Cantabile and Masumi-chan, who's on the timpani. But yes, it's a very not marching, but percussive, driven piece in certain moments. Obviously, the strings are massive in terms of what they're doing melodically and adding to that or creating that intensity and power. The brass really stand out at certain moments. The woodwinds, again, giving some substance and subtlety, especially in some of the more quiet moments. So again, it's masterful. What an opening to a symphony. My plan is to, over the course of the 4 movements, articulate some different angles and facets of the piece's history and context. Again, I talked about when it was composed and a couple other details at the opening here, but I'll, in the next reaction for Movement 2, talk a bit more how Beethoven was composing this by all, or for all intents and purposes, functionally speaking, deaf, which is a remarkable feat in itself. Never mind the anecdote about when this was first performed in 1824, when he got a standing ovation for a long period of time, and so the story goes, was not even aware of it at first. I think there's some different historical takes on the veracity of that account. Nevertheless, as I said, over the course of the 4 movements, I'll talk about some different angles and aspects to the context and history of the piece. Do let me know what you think, not only of the piece overall, but also Bohm's conducting, as well as the Vienna or Wien Philharmonic's performance. And yeah, just an incredible piece. Looking forward to going through the other movements. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.